Hi, this is Mike Howe from Metal Church, and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape on KSKQ 89.5 FM in Ashland, Oregon.
That was awesome. Thank you, man.
Right on.
How's everything going in reset mode so far, Mike?
Everything is going fantastic, Jim. Thank you very much. We couldn't be luckier guys and happier in the position we are at this time in our lives, and the fans have been responding beautifully. It's just a great time for Metal Church and Metal Church fans alike.
Any moments stick out so far?
Well, we did the heavy metal cruise in the Caribbean, the Monsters of Rock. That was pretty awesome. I'd never done that before, so that was a new experience for me. But and then we went a 3-week tour of New England, Midwest. We just got off of that, and that was all a great experience. Every night was great crowds, and just re-meeting the fans of Metal Church, and face to face playing music together. That it's all been great.
That's awesome, man. So I'm a huge fan of your work.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that.
Tell me, who are some of your vocal influences and songwriting influences as well? Like, what bands had the best songs that inspired your writing?
Well, the two vocalists that I cite from my youth that I wanted to emulate and did so in Detroit in a cover band when I was growing up were Rob Halford of Judas Priest, which is a very obvious thing, I think, and Bon Scott of AC/DC. So those two guys, when I was young, were very influential in the fact that Rob had this amazing metal, he's metal god voice for me, and then Bon Scott had this amazing attitude going on behind his voice. And so I kind of wanted to meld those two styles together for myself, consciously or subconsciously. That's what I did. And so I guess those are the two main influences that made me who I am today.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that in your voice. You kind of sound like a mix of those two vocalists.
Oh,
what about as far as your songwriting?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand with those guys. The classic '80s metal sound of Judas Priest, are highly influenced. But Kurt Vanderhoof,
right? Of course.
In Metal Church, he's the influence behind songwriting. When I got into the band with Metal Church, that's when I really picked up and started songwriting like I hadn't before, and just by example, by his amazing ability to write songs. He's an amazing songwriter.
So you were a fan of Metal Church already? I mean, were you familiar with the material when you joined the band?
No, that's not to say that I was, but when I joined them then and I discovered Kurt Vanderhoof and his ability to write songs, that's what got me going and awestruck by his ability. But honestly, I was playing in Los Angeles and some bands, the band that I came from Detroit to Los Angeles with, and then I was there with them for a year and a half, and then I broke away from them and was in a band called Heretic down there. But no, Kurt came down and produced Heretic's first album for Heretic, and that's how I met him. But I'd heard songs like Watch the Children Pray, I believe, and Start the Fire on KNAC down there, which was a local metal radio station. But honestly, I know and appreciate how great of a metal singer Dave Wayne was, and I don't take anything away from him at all. But Dave Wayne's style, I think, is a more of a screamer, screeching type metal voice, and so that is great in its own right, but it wasn't Mike Howe's style, so I was not a fan of those kind of singers per se myself, although
right.
I knew there definitely is a niche for those guys, and people love that, and I respect that. But so that's why I was not really a Metal Church fan. But once I got in the band and started playing with them and putting my own style on it, I discovered, like I said, the writing, the amazing writing capabilities of Kurt Vanderhoof.
Well, I've heard you referred to as the Bruce Dickinson of Metal Church. You came in after 2 records. You brought the band to a new level. Mm-hmm. Did you find it difficult replacing an established singer with your own style?
I think it was a lot easier for me because our styles, I believe, and I think a lot of people would agree that our styles are really different. Like I said, he's more of a screamer, screecher kind of guy, and I'm more of a yeller, like an operatic kind of, growler kind of singing. took it, and I think that was an advantage to me, so that people weren't really comparing us because we didn't sound the same.
Rumor in the 80s was that when you were in Heretic, the two bands played shows together, and that you got along better with the Metal Church guys, and Dave Wayne got along with the Heretic guys better, so you traded spots.
No, that's not true at all. It's a good story, but no.
It's a great story.
Dave Wayne left Metal Church, or was, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter whether he left them or he was fired. The point is moot. He had been out of the band, and, they were looking for a singer. So when I joined Metal Church after, I was invited to come up by Kurt and try out for Metal Church. And he had this song that he'd written that he was just very proud of and wanted to hear me on it. And it was called Anthem to the Estranged. And so my audition for the band was recording a vocal track over Anthem to the Estranged that Kurt had written the lyrics to and did it on a 4-track, and then jamming some songs with the band in the rehearsal space. So that was my introduction. And then once I got the gig, it was down the road that I heard that, Dave had gone down to LA to see what, he could do in metal down there, and he just, it seemed, I guess, natural for him to just join up with the Heretic guys and call it Reverend.
Oh, yeah. So you mentioned your first band, Snare,
mm-hmm.
and you mentioned Heretic. Were there any other bands you were ever involved with?
No. My childhood band, my first band ever, was Snare out of Detroit, but when we were in Detroit, we were called Hellion at the beginning, and we did mostly covers, and then we decided that, if we were going to get serious, we started to have to write some songs, and we started doing that, and then we decided that we needed to move to Los Angeles to be serious, and we did that. And that's where we changed our name to Snare, because there obviously was a band already in Los Angeles called Hellion with a female vocalist. And so we changed it to Snare because there were 3 brothers in the band, and that was their last name. So we took that name, and like I said, we banged around Los Angeles. We were like a heavier band.
Sure.
We were amongst Poison and Rat and Warrant and all those bands, so we were kind of like red-headed stepchildren there. And, so, yeah, it was interesting. And most of the metal, thrash bands were up in San Francisco, so we were like, wow, we kind of landed here, and our style's more in San Francisco, but we were not going to move again.
Right, yeah.
So we decided to bang it out there, and then when that came to an end, we saw the end coming. One of the other bands in the local scene was Heretic, and so they had just recently lost their singer, and it just seemed like the logical thing to do to keep on going was to step into Heretics. And I was only with them for maybe 8-9 months max. I'd stepped in, started doing shows, and they'd already had a deal with Metal Blade Records, and they'd already had songs written and ready to go when they lost their singer. So I just kind of stepped in and did their record with them, and like I said, we had a mutual contact by a guy named Ron Lafitte who knew Kurt and was trying to help Kurt branch out in the music industry as a producer, and so he put us together, and that's how it happened.
So it kind of sounds like a natural progression going from Snare to Heretic to Metal Church.
Yeah, for me it was natural, and there wasn't a lot of thought into it. It just seemed like, oh well, this makes sense, And I came to Los Angeles with my brothers, so to speak, the guys I had started with and banged out, and when we ended that, it was more like, okay, now it's not so personal, on a personal level, where these guys were the guys that I, grew up around the corner from me and loved, and now I'm in a band, and it's kind of business now, and the Heretic guys are great guys, nothing, but then it was more like a business decision for me, and it was easier to make that decision because I wasn't with my original brothers trying to make it big still.
Sure. Yeah, when I was preparing for this interview, I put out a message on Facebook, asked anybody if they had questions that I should ask you, and one of them, people ask, of course, a lot of silly questions. Ask him if he made a deal with the devil. Ask him why he cut his hair, things like that. And I was like, come on, guys. So someone said, ask him if he would ever consider doing another stint with Heretic.
Yeah, that's been asked, actually, and, obvious to me, is that'd be a no. Since people, it goes along with the question, why did you leave Metal Church in '94, and why didn't you go do another, metal, with somebody else? And the answer is the same for both of those, is Metal Church was the band where I found that I felt I belonged, and I really felt that Metal Church was my home, and I loved singing for Metal Church, and it wasn't an easy, decision to walk away from Metal Church in '94. I was very sad by that, but I also saw the thing that I loved being crumbled by bad management and outside influences, and it was turning it into something that I didn't like, and so I wanted to step away before it was really, got worse and made me more miserable. So, like I said, Metal Church, I believe, was and is the only band that I wanted to sing heavy metal for, and so that's the only reason I'm back, and it's the reason I wouldn't go sing for anybody else, is because Metal Church is and was and is who I am as a metal singer.
Yeah, a lot of people, including myself, I think respect your stance on that, and respect someone who would say, I'm not going to half-ass it, and I'm not going to go do something not as good. Did you ever, even for a second, did you consider maybe changing your style?
Well, I mean, since I've been out of Metal Church and home, the past 22 years, I sing still. I tell people that too. I'm a singer. I will always sing, whether it's, in a room by myself or in the shower or, in front of my family, bugging them, So I have friends who play music, all kinds of music, and I step in and sing different kinds of music and be a singer, and I think over the years that's probably what helped me keep my diaphragm work and my ability to sing correctly intact, and just with friends, and I love all kinds of music, from heavy metal to blues and rock and Americana. I love music as an art form, and so I crave different kinds of styles and different sounds of music, and so I think there is good and bad in every genre of music, and I think it's wise, for me at least, to be open to that and receive something from music that everyone knows is magical, right? When you hear something that moves you, and there's just something about it that is life-affirming, and so I don't want to be limited and narrow-minded in my scope of music, because I think it's all the same,
Yeah, so in the last, you mentioned the last 22 years that you've had off, did you keep up with Metal Church at all? I mean, as far as, did you hear the records they were doing in your absence?
I did not. I mean, I heard snippets, they did the Masterpiece with Dave, and somebody had, said, here it is, and I looked it up and played a little bit and went, oh yeah, there's Dave, and, at that time I was still jaded and was like, I don't want to hear any Metal Church.
Right.
I heard what they did with Ronnie, but I'm not into, like I said, not into this just screaming type vocals. I like melodies, and I like, and so I wasn't not really interested in that, which, I was very happy for them and glad they're carrying on the Metal Church name. I had no bad feelings towards them at all. I was like happy for Kurt that he was still being able to carry on his career in music.
Yeah, sure, of course.
But it was just not something that I wanted to listen to.
So now, during the last couple of decades, how conscious were you of your fan base? As far as, I mean, was all the support, was it a surprise to you when you came back to the band? Did you have any idea that all this would be such a big deal?
Well, I mean, with the internet and YouTube and all that going on, people in my life, around me and friends and stuff would always go, Mike, your old video, Badlands, has just got hundreds of thousands of views, and there's so many people saying nice things, and, I was aware to it to a certain degree, aware of it, but, I couldn't, equate what that means. It's kind of weird when people are praising you, I don't really, it's kind of a weird thing for me. I've always tried to stay humble and keep things in perspective, so it's one thing to be a fan of Judas Priest and go, wow, it's awesome, I love them, but it's a different thing to have people do that to you, it's kind of a weird place to be in life, and, so I just go, oh, that's really awesome that they are, but I don't really get it.
Yeah, I know.
Why would they like me? So that's where I am. So when I did come back, and we did this record together in our own time and our own way, and it was very special for Kurt and I, and getting to put out something that was completely us for the first time ever. We were in complete control of our destiny on every aspect of the, from the writing to the recording recording to the mixing to the cover and all that. That was very satisfying. It was kind of like a taking care of unfinished business, you know, and I think we did that successfully, and I'm very proud of it. And so when you put something out that's what you're trying to do, and you feel vindicated somehow when people, you know, acknowledge it, and it's an amazing feeling, and I'm very grateful to all those people, and I feel very lucky for where I am at this moment in my life.
So it sounds like you enjoyed the process making 11 more than you made records in the past.
Well, I enjoyed making 11 just as much more. Yeah, of course, more than any record, because being older and, hopefully more mature and cognizant of who you are as a person and what you want, you're able to take it in and live in the moment and enjoy it way more than when you're 20s and you kind of still searching for who you are and trying to figure that out. Of course I did, but we had a great time writing The Human Factor, in that little studio up in Aberdeen, in that press junket. We talked about that, and so that's where we wanted to kind of get back to in our heads, it's like, it's just us, and there's nobody out there that we need to impress, or no record companies or managements that are putting pressure on us to be something, or timelines. So getting all that, coming back to that and setting those guidelines in our mind and doing that is just it was a great experience.
So
yeah.
When you're picking out material for the live set, for example,
mm-hmm.
let's say from the first 5 albums, which songs are your favorites to sing live? Also, what new Metal Church songs are you digging the most right now?
Yeah. Good questions. Kurt came to me and said, Mike Howe, you're back. You're coming back. We're going to play you. And, we're going to play you. And if whatever you want to play live, whatever you think that you enjoyed playing or worked in the past, let's do that. So he was very gracious. As Kurt Vanderhoof is a friend of mine, he's a very gracious person in his writing and all that, and that brings out the best in you, And so I went through a list of songs that I remember from the past that I loved playing live and worked great, and presented it to him and said, also these Dave Wayne era stuff that I used to sing, I really like singing these songs, and we put together a set list out of those, and then of course we wanted I enjoy playing the old songs, and it's fun, but I'm not really a nostalgic person, and I didn't come back to play old music.
Sure.
I came back to play new music and do something new. That was the most important thing. So, yeah, the new songs on the record, I'm just having a great time playing the ones we're playing, and, you could pick the first 3 songs off the record, and any of those, are slammers, and we love playing them live.
So, yeah, since it's your first time back on the road in over 20 years, are there some noticeable changes in touring? I mean, today compared to the old days? Overall, how is the metal world different in 2016? What have you noticed?
Wow. Well, as far as touring, you mean?
Sure.
Yeah, so, as far as our end goes, it goes back to, older and wiser and more mature, hopefully, so you can live in the moment and just really enjoy it and, know that it could be fleeting, and you're just trying to just take that day by day in, and it's been a great experience to do that and look at all the fans that are coming out, and I think they feel the same way, and so the connection with the fans, to me, is even deeper and much more profound, and so we stick around after shows and just sign autographs and take pictures and shake hands and hug and do all that great stuff just to say, hey, we're celebrating something great here, music, metal, the metal music that we all love, and it's very special on both sides, not just their side, on our side as well. It's equal. Thank you for coming out and sharing it with us. So I think that's the biggest difference from the past, is just being aware and, being more appreciative than you ever were.
The first video just came out a few months ago for the song No Tomorrow. Do you have any plans for another music video? If so, what song? And I want to ask, do you enjoy shooting music videos?
Yeah, so these are good questions. And we are talking about doing another video, and we're very excited about it. And we've had some meetings, and we've had some feedback from fans, and we do have a song that we have in mind that we're going to use, but unfortunately I cannot divulge that at this time because it is not confirmed and we have not set the date. I cannot say, but I'm very excited is what I got to say, and that, you know, when we talk about it, it gets me going, just like all the other stuff is just making me feel young again, and that's what I think it's doing for fans, and that's the magical part. We're all feeling young again, and I love that. So yes, there will be another Metal Church video. We're going to be working on, I think, when we get back from this European leg, because we leave in another week and a half to head over to Europe and then come back, and I think in June we're going to be working on a new video, and some another surprise is out there. We're working on things. We're going to keep the Metal Church machine rolling, hopefully, and build, the snowball effect, and hopefully it gets bigger and bigger, and we can keep on rolling for as long as the train keeps, heading down that track.
That brings me to my last question, which is, are there any talks so far about any somewhat distant future plans as far as, I'm sure there will be more tours. You guys are planning on, it sounds like maybe another record somewhere down the road, maybe a proper live album?
Well, we've talked about, wanting to do a live DVD, a proper one, so, and at some rock hard festivals, and they're talking about filming some shows over there, and for that possible, that exact thing.
Mike Howe and Metal Church on tour right now, folks. Support the new record, 11 on Rat Pack Records.
I was just going to, it just came in today, so I want to release this with you, because it'll be a great promotional tool for us, you helping us out on this, but it looks like we're hitting the road here in June on the West Coast. It's a short tour, but we're going to be going through the West Coast with Armored Saint, and we're very excited about that in June.
Awesome. Yeah. Yes, I was going to say I'm looking forward to some more West Coast shows.
Yes.
Metal Church, if you get a chance, check them out anywhere, even remotely near your town. Check them out live. Any last comments, Mike Howe?
I just want to reiterate how grateful I am to the fans out there, and to everyone in the music business, such as yourself, Jim, for supporting Metal Church and our reemergence and making it possible for us to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, man.